Locked On Hawkeyes, your daily podcast on the Iowa Hawkeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, Hawkeye Nation, to another episode of the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast, your daily podcast covering your Iowa Hawkeyes on the Locked On Podcast Network. As always, I am your host, and as we do after every single Iowa Hawkeye game, we are joined by former Iowa running back and my co-host on Monday mornings. Today is Saturday morning, though. LeShun Daniels Jr. LeShun, how you doing today, buddy?
We're doing great. Always feeling good, after we beat Nebraska. And it's just a yearly thing at this point. So we're feeling great.
It feels really nice to wake up and be like, you know what? I have the whole day of watching college football. Iowa already got the W. It's gonna be a very interesting day of watching college football. It pains me to say this, but row your boat, PJ, because I want to get to the Big Ten championship game. I know that's something you might not even want to utter ever, but we're going to talk about that on the show today. Before we get to that, though, I want to thank you all for making our Monday morning episode, our Monday morning recap, me and LeShun, that episode, your first listen every single day, as well as all of our other episodes we drop throughout the week. You can find the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast wherever you get podcasts at, and also on YouTube for free by searching Locked On Hawkeyes. And this episode with LeShun is brought to you by NetSuite. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth. Head over to netsuite.com/lockedonncaa for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. So let's get to it. I want to quickly get your thoughts on how does it feel to root for Minnesota today?
It's tough. It's definitely tough, but it's all right because we know that if they win, right, we get to go to the Big Ten title game. So it's like, something you just got to swallow. And you're just like, all right, come on, Minnesota. After we ripped your hearts out year after year, after, we won yesterday, so you guys can't make it to the title game. It's like, yeah, but we still need you guys to win today. So, we can make it to the title game. So it's like, I don't want to, but, we have to. And so hopefully they can get it done today.
It would be quite amazing that we not only beat Minnesota, as you said, we ruined their chances of getting a Big Ten West title, and then they give us the Big Ten West title. It would be, and if you're Minnesota, you got to be thinking, man, we're damned if we do, damned if we don't here. Because if we lose to Wisconsin, and we hate losing to Wisconsin. I mean, you're just in a real crap position all around. But nevertheless, good for Iowa to put ourselves in this situation, beating Nebraska yesterday, and it was one of the most ridiculous games I have ever seen. I was telling you before we started the show, I was already going through the stages of grief thinking, you know what? It's okay. It was a good football season. I enjoyed watching them play. 9-3 ain't bad. We'll go to the Music City Bowl. Nashville will be a hoot, whatever. That's literally what I was thinking at 21-6. I hate myself for doing that, but Iowa figures out a way to come back. Was this one of the more impressive comebacks you've ever seen?
Yeah, this was a great win. For those guys. I mean, you're down 21-6. I mean, it was looking real grim. In that third quarter. We end up getting a field goal again, 21-9 going into the fourth quarter. You're still down by 12. Like, that's not a good spot to be in, and especially with how efficient Nebraska's offense was being at the time. It's like, I don't know if we'll be able to battle back, but knowing the guys, knowing the staff, right, it's never any quit, and we saw that. So huge win, impressive to battle back like that, and come from behind, in the fourth quarter and come and get that victory. So
Absolutely, man. So at the 5-minute mark in the third quarter, what was your confidence level that Iowa would win? Because mine was about 1.
I mean, what did I say in our group chat? Now we was just talking. We was just like, of course, Iowa's selling right now, blah blah blah. But it's Iowa, right? It's Iowa. We'll see what they do. There's always something, always a play. In games like in rivalry games like this, that's gonna change momentum. And sure enough, did right. But halfway through that third quarter, I'm like, it's not looking great, especially after we had the good drive and then Tyler fumbled. In the red zone, I'm like, oh God, here we go. Next thing you know, they drive right down the field, go and score. And I'm just like, oh, this is not looking great. I think we still have a chance. We still have a chance because I felt like at that point in time in the game, a lot of the things that we were doing were really just self-inflicted wounds, right? It wasn't anything that they were doing that was preventing us from being in the ball game. It was just all we're doing. And when the fourth quarter came, we changed that right around pretty quickly. So
Yeah, I want to get to obviously the touchdown that got overturned and the Tyler Linderbaum, Tyler Goodson collision fumble and how many points we left on the board. But first, I want to get to a thing you mentioned. We always have something drawn up. We always have something ready to go for these rivalry games. And I think to a common fan, you don't typically realize there are very specific play calls on special teams. There was a specific play call they had for that punt block. Henry Marquise executed it perfectly last week against Illinois. They saw something on tape that said if Charlie Jones gets the football in the right end of the end zone, he's going to take it all the way across the field, and that could spring a touchdown against a team who's only allowed 4 kick returns, not touchdowns, kick returns in general. So I think it's pretty impressive of LeVar Woods and what he's seeing on film to be able to put these types of things together. And then ultimately for the Iowa Hawkeye football players to execute on that. That punt block was truly amazing. At that point, I was like, I don't know what we have to do here. We have to have some sort of big play. You don't typically see a lot of punt blocks. Beautiful, beautiful punt block by Henry Marquise, though, fully extended. Even if he missed the ball, wouldn't have hit the punter. There was no chance of roughing the punter. Just, oh my God, what a beautiful play all around. And then Kyler Fisher, just the ball just floating right into his hands like a little angel coming out of the heavens, and then just getting escorted into the end zone by Jay Higgins. I mean, all around, just an amazing punt block. I know you haven't played a lot of special teams. You've been fortunate enough to not necessarily have to do that. But what were your thoughts on that punt block?
uh just incredible game-changing play. And it's one of those things that you expect from your seniors, right? When everything's going not the way you want it to, and going gets tough, right? You're as a team, you're looking towards those seniors and those leaders on the team to make a play. And Henry went out and did just that, right? Special teams isn't just, I know a lot of people, kind of think of special teams as just like, oh, okay, like whatever, it's just some other play until the next offense or the defense comes out on the field, right? But those are actual plays that can be used as weapons for your team, and they're treated that way as such at Iowa, right? I mean, you go in the meeting rooms, they have special teams meetings, right? They're drawing up plays, they're critiquing every single player that are on the field, and the special teams, like, they're treating it like it's not just some other play, like those are important plays in the game. And I think Henry had said that it was all preparation. They knew how they were going to be lined up. They knew what opportunities were going to be if they ran, their pump block to perfection, right? And then Henry said that he had got a tip on their cadence, throughout the game. And then, when the opportunity came, right, they were all ready for it, and they made do on it, right? So it's huge plays in the game. And when those guys preparing like that, and when you have your seniors stepping up like that, uh I mean, there's no way you can't win. There's no way you can't win
Yeah.
games. So
I think I would equate, and this is going to be a bad analogy, but I'm going to try it anyways. I would equate special teams in college football, the way people look at it, as the way people look at the right fielder in elementary school baseball. Like it's almost like it doesn't matter. We're just going to put whoever out there. But in all actuality, that's a really important position. And a lot of times games can be won and lost by your performance there. I think what's even more impressive is we've seen year over year, we've seen guys who have been 3-star recruits coming to Iowa who play 4, 5, 6 years. They change positions multiple times. I mean, I think Henry Marquis started out as a wide receiver. He's technically a defensive back. We saw Devontae Young go from wide receiver, defensive back to, or it might have been the other way too. But we see these seniors stick with the program. And I've never been a 3-star recruit. I've never been I've never been a recruit for football or any sort of high level sport like that. I had some NAI offers, so really just nothing to talk about. I don't know how you deal with that. That's got to be tough to come in and kind of be humbled a little bit to thinking maybe I have a chance to go to the NFL, maybe I have a chance to go to the next level, and then you stay with the program for 5 or 6 years, and it comes down to a huge play like that. I don't even know how to ask this question, but what does it mean for you and other Iowa Hawkeye football players to see guys like that stay committed throughout their time and come up big in a huge way for the Iowa Hawkeye football program?
Yeah, it's tough, right? I mean, it's tough because um you know that those guys could probably go to a smaller school, could try to transfer to a smaller school and play, every single down on offense or defense or wherever, right? But to have those guys around and stick around the program, those are things that really I think help keep your program really at the level that you want it to be. Because when guys start transferring out all the time because they're not playing the way that they're not playing as much as they want to play, or they don't have quite the impact that they're looking for. As a lot of revolving doors, right? There's lots of people that are coming in and out. And you're not really sure like who you can trust and who are going to be leaders on the team. But when you have people like that who stick around and embody the Iowa way, it only makes sense for new people who are coming in, for the freshmen that are coming in, or other transfers that are coming in. Like, hey, like these guys are sticking with the program. They're dedicated to the program. They obviously love their teammates and being around to be there. And that they know that when their number is called and they do have the opportunity to make a play, they go ahead and do that, right? We saw that the past couple of weeks with Henry Marquise, and we saw it plenty of times with Devontae Young, when he was in school, right? And these guys are guys who stick to the program. They embody the Iowa way. They obviously love the teammates and the people that they're around. And they know like, hey, yeah, I probably could have gone elsewhere and maybe had an outside shot at playing in the NFL, but I love it here, right? And I want to make the most of my opportunities here when I get them. And those guys have definitely done so.
Yeah, man, it's pretty impressive. I'm going to throw you off with this next one for a bit, but this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours, but on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business, LeShun? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software? To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. You didn't see this one coming, did you? There's an ad read right here. NetSuite is the #1 cloud financial system to power your growth with visibility and control of your financials, inventory, HR, planning, budgeting, and more. NetSuite is everything you need to grow all in one place. Over 27,000 businesses already use NetSuite, and right now, through the end of the year, NetSuite is offering a 1-year or one-of-a-kind financing program to those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/lockedonNCAA. Head over to netsuite.com/lockedonNCAA for special end-of-year financing on the #1 financial system for growing businesses. netsuite.com/lockedonNCAA. And again, I want to thank you all for making the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast your first listen every single day. You can find the Locked On Hawkeyes podcast for free wherever you get podcasts at, and also on YouTube by searching Locked On Hawkeyes. Probably threw you off for that one for a little bit. I wanted to see. I'm like, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about right now. As I said, like, what are we
No.
talking about? Golfing? Why did you just switch from Henry Marquise to golfing? Trying to be transitioning there, but I did not give you any heads up on that at all. So before we took a break, we talked about Henry Marquise, Devontae Young, the guys who make such a huge impact in the special teams phase of the game, which, as we have seen, is a huge reason why Iowa can win and be so successful. There's a reason why they have 10 wins this year. It's not because our offense is high powered like Oklahoma's. Our defense has had some times where they've struggled. Our special teams have had sometimes they struggle, but special teams yesterday won the game for the Hawks. I mean, 4 field goals by Caleb Shudak, which, by the way, the fact that he is not a Lou Groza Award finalist is absolutely flabbergasting to me. I mean, the guy is just so consistent and can also just boot the ball. I was kicking that 51-yard field goal. My buddy's like, he can't make this. Look at him. He's 5'6". And I was like, watch him make this and have like 5 to 6 yards to go. He kicks. He's like, all right, I don't know where the heck you guys are getting these kickers at. Nebraska can't find anyone to kick a ball through the uprights, and you guys keep churning these guys out. And I'm like, funny enough, that guy came from Council Bluffs. So anyways, lots of fun things from a special teams perspective. Anything you want to add on to about Caleb Shudak?
Yeah, no. Great guy. I think he was there my
Was he there when you
senior
were
year.
there?
I want to say he was there when I was a senior. I feel like
You were
that's
there
how
with
he.
Keith, right?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, so
Keith
Caleb would
was
have been
there.
there too. Yeah.
Yeah. So it feels like, yeah, he's been in the program forever. And, obviously just happy to see him, have success, right? I mean, he stayed the course and decided to stick with it. And, he's had his opportunities this year and he's definitely made the most of it. So yeah, Caleb has been probably our best offensive player this year. As good as Tyler has been, both Linderbaum and Goodson. Caleb's probably our best offensive player this year. So it's really a shame that he wasn't a finalist for the Lou Groza because he's been playing that well. But he will probably get the recognition, hopefully, in some way, shape, or form. In the postseason awards, where they're hopefully making some lists or things like that. So
It'll be interesting. I mean, two of the three Lou Groza Award finalists are kickers in the Big Ten. You got Ohio State kicker, you got the Michigan kicker, and I would
mhm,
love to see Caleb Shudak be a first team All Big Ten the way he absolutely deserves. We're gonna have some big kicks in the Ohio State or Michigan game
mhm,
today as well, so maybe separates themselves a little bit there.
yeah,
Talked a little bit about the comeback and how impressive that was. The fact that Iowa persevered through a lot of just issues all around, just some real fluky plays, what I would call some poor officiating early on. I want to get your thoughts on the touchdown catch or no catch by Sam Laporta. Did you believe that was a catch?
yeah. I mean, it was a ridiculous reverse. I mean, he literally catches the ball, his butt like touched the ground. He's like on the ground for like a second, and then the ball like pops out. Absolutely ridiculous that they overturned it. And I feel like officiating in general this year and football at both the college and NFL level this year has just been horrendous.
Yeah.
And I don't know what's up with it. I know a lot of the refs are part-time, right? And they go ref a game and then they go to their law firms or whatever, like Monday morning, right? I think some things that I would like to, see change with that is, move to some full-time refs that um only focus on officiating at least during the season. Um, so, they can actually do their job properly and actually make the right calls and see the right things on the field because yeah, it's really frustrating when your guys go out there and they make a great play and then, one of the striped shirts decides, nah, that's not it. Right. So the officiating was really really terrible on a number of different fronts, and that's really all I have to say about that. I thought, yeah, Sam made the catch. I didn't even think anything of it. I was like, oh, okay, cool, we're on the board. We were able to answer, right? But obviously it just wasn't the case. So
Yeah, I mean, I have no idea what a catch is at this point, or what it means for a play to be confirmed or stay. I mean, like my thing is if it's a play that you cannot decisively tell which way it went, and you
mhm,
call it a certain way, typically it means you don't have enough evidence to overturn it. And somehow Nebraska had enough evidence, or the not Nebraska, the officials had enough evidence to overturn three different catches. I
yeah,
mean, two of them were Nebraska's.
mhm,
I'm not sure what to say on both of the Nebraska catches. As a Nebraska fan, you can't be upset because you got one of the two. As an Iowa fan, I could kind of see I could kind of see both those not being catches. I could kind of see both them being. I mean, like I have no idea what a catch is at this point, but
mhm,
nevertheless, there's also some very interesting targeting or no targeting calls. Now, I'm not a big fan of targeting penalties. I think there's a lot of uh, iffy instances, like if a wide receiver drops down and a defensive back is lowering their head to hit a guy in the waist, and the guy drops their head down, targeting there's not a lot the guy can do there. There was an early play against Arlen Bruce, and he got popped hard. I thought that probably should have been called targeting. I also thought the play where they called roughing the passer on or against the defensive end against Alex Padilla, they were looking at it for targeting, and my buddy was like, "That's not targeting." I'm like, "Dude, the guy went up to Alex, had his hand, and then extended it and just chucked him down." Like,
mhm,
I know that's not targeting, but that is forceful intent to potentially injure a guy. I wanted to get your thoughts on those two calls.
Yeah, so the targeting that they reviewed on the hit against Arlen, um it's definitely like what is in the rule book for targeting, right? I mean, the guy lowered his head and basically, speared him in his head. But I feel like it's a lot harder to call when they're not defenseless and they're as a runner.
Yep.
And I mean, I know like as a defensive player, you're taught obviously hit with your head up and all these different things, but it's hard, right? I mean, especially when you're going against guys who can create explosive plays. Like it's hard to go in there with perfect technique and all these different things. So I think that like calling targeting is tough. And yeah, I was fine with them, not calling it. Because I mean, again, it's the last game of the year. You don't want to get kicked out on some nonsense. But I mean, it was the definition of targeting, right? And I think a lot of people would just like for the officiating just be consistent, right?
Yeah.
Whether they make like, is it targeting or is it not, right? And have it the same way all the time instead of it kind of being iffy. And I mean, I know like a lot of that stuff gets obviously like reviewed upstairs, gets reviewed with the refs, and then like they obviously got to figure out some way, right, to make it all consistent. And the one you know, against Alex. I mean, yeah, he did take his hand and shove his face, which was ridiculous. Definitely roughing the passer 100%, without a doubt. But targeting again, I'm just not a fan of the targeting call, to be
It's crap.
quite honest. Yeah, I'd much rather it just be like some personal foul, unnecessary roughness, and just just call it a day and leave it at that. But yeah, doing it like that one is targeting because it wasn't. But yeah, that one was more forceful than I would say, like intent wise, than the one on Arlen earlier in the game.
Yeah, I could definitely get on board with that. I'll have a couple other interesting calls, no calls, and situations I want to talk about. Before we get to that, though, I know it's Thanksgiving weekend. I know it's Black Friday. You might have lost some money yesterday shopping or your spouse shopping or whatever it might be, but you can make some of that money back by going to betonline.ag. Nothing goes better with turkey and Black Friday shopping than football and betting. BetOnline has you covered for all the holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline remains your number one spot for all the sports action this Thanksgiving weekend. So head over to their new updated desktop or mobile website, sign up today, and receive a 50% welcome bonus with your promo code LOCKEDON, LOCKEDON. When you sign up, that's not that hard. Just get a 50% welcome bonus upon sign up. And it's not just football that BetOnline has. BetOnline has pro and college hoops, NHL, boxing, UFC, and your favorite Vegas casino games. And don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. Personally, my wife and I spent a couple $100 yesterday on shopping. We just wanted some clothes we wanted. I went to betonline.ag. I placed some bets on Iowa basketball. I placed some in-game bets on Iowa football, and I made out like a bandit yesterday. And you can do that today as well by going to betonline.ag, the fastest and the easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. Betonline.ag. We are stuffed with deals this Thanksgiving. And speaking of stuffed, after you get stuffed, after you have all that delicious food, you want to start eating healthier, check out Built Bar. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the market today. It is the protein bar that tastes just like a candy bar, and they have so many amazing deals going on right now with this Black Friday weekend. They have new limited time flavors, new types of bars, and a winter wonderland of a deal. If you want high-end deliciousness at a discount all through Black Friday weekend, get at least 20% off anything and everything you want at built.com. That's BUILT.com. All you need to do is enter the promo code LOCKED20. They have a new flavor, Ruby Chocolate Puffs. LeShun, I know I sent you the regular bars, but the puff bars are truly delicious. You got to check them out. They also got lemon dipped cheesecake puffs, and they got a Built Crave bar that's a little bit crunchier, just like your normal candy bars. Truly, it is absolutely amazing. I know I have a couple boxes of Built Bar still, but I placed some orders yesterday as well. I just couldn't pass up all these great deals and all these amazing flavors. So go to BuiltBar.com and you'll get 20% off. And also 2 free Crave bars. So not only are you getting 20% off at BuiltBar.com, but you also get 2 free Crave bars. Plus you can get 60% off Built Broth and a Built Boost. Built Boost is kind of like a nice little energy pickup. It's truly delicious. And 40% off Built Swag. You want to rock some Built Swag, get it for 40% off. All you need to do is go to built.com, BUILT.com, and enter the promo code LOCKED20. So many great deals going on at builtbar.com today. All right, LeShun, I want to talk about a few other interesting situations. There was a play where Tyler Linderbaum just absolutely destroyed his defensive tackle. And honestly, we saw it like probably 7 or 8 times. We've seen it all throughout the season. He embarrassed that guy so much. The guy got up and was like, that's got to be unsportsmanlike conduct. Trying to get a penalty called. How much joy does that bring you seeing Tyler Linderbaum embarrass and destroy guys so badly that they feel like there's a penalty on the play for him just being that darn good?
Yeah, first off, it just tells you how soft their players were. I mean, that's ridiculous. Like, what do you like? He's blocking to the whistle, just because he drove you, 5 yards back and then pancaked you. It doesn't mean that it is it was a late block. So, but as an offensive guy, seeing that, that's just awesome, right? I mean, offensive line is like one of the positions where one of the few spots where in really life where you get to take another grown man and move him against his will, and then you can finish it off by slamming him to the ground. Like there's there's not too much better things than you can do than that. And I love seeing that, because that just tells you first off how great of a player that Tyler is, but also his nasty streak that he has, and how he's going to go hard, through the whistle every single time. And if you don't like it, tough luck. You better find a way to beat the block and get around him, or beat him. But it's very rare that that's going to happen. So that was awesome, though.
I love watching Tyler Linderbaum play. There are some weird rumors floating around that maybe he actually returns. I would be so shocked if he returns. This is the second time in a row we have a center who is the best in college football. You're very familiar with the first one, James Daniel, your brother, who had an opportunity to go to the NFL. I just don't know how Tyler Linderbaum doesn't take that opportunity. He's projected as a top 15 pick. If for whatever reason that guy decides to return, watch out defensive tackles next year, because he is going to just absolutely annihilate and manhandle everyone all season. We have managed to make it 27 minutes without saying the words Spencer Petras, Alex Padilla, or quarterback. And I think that's honestly a new record for any show I've done on a Monday morning with you, and then previously with Matt. We got to talk about, though, Alex Padilla comes out. Now, there's some interesting stuff about a flu bug coming around. Sounds like Alex might have been sick. Maybe Spencer was sick as well before this week kind of started. Alex comes out. I thought he had a really nice first drive. I thought he did a great job of handling the offense. We should have scored that touchdown. Then he started making a few questionable throws. There was the one ball he was trying to – we had an open tight end going into the flat. He just couldn't get out, couldn't get it up enough, kind of knocked down by the defensive end. Great play by the defensive end or I don't think it might have been their linebacker. Might have been Cam Taylor or Cam Tanner or something. I don't know his name.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was just a solid play by the linebacker. There's another play where we had another, I think, tight end going across the middle, wide open. All Alex Padilla needs to do is just throw it about 6 feet higher. Just loft that ball. You don't got to chuck it hard. Just loft that ball up, and we're going to get it. And then he had a really bad decision on the sideline, trying to get to Keegan Johnson in double coverage, where that should have been picked. That was just a bad throw. Were you shocked to see Spencer Petras then come in the second half?
Yeah, I was shocked. To say I wasn't, I would have been lying. Yeah, I was definitely shocked. I don't want to say it. I mean, I was shocked for sure. I thought Alex was playing okay. I mean, they were moving the football really, really, really well. Thought Coach Brian called a pretty good game yesterday.
Yeah.
Probably his best game of the entire year, without a doubt.
I definitely want to talk about that in a second, because I was clapping back at people yelling about Brian Ferentz should be fired after the second drive. I was like, y'all are just ridiculous right now. Like, come on. Sorry. Keep going with your thought.
No. But Alex was making questionable throws where, honestly, frankly, if their defensive guys could catch, they probably would have been a different game, right? I mean, James Laurinaitis in the booth was saying, like, yeah, of course, that's why these guys are playing defense, because they can't catch, right? And I'm sure if James Laurinaitis was out there in those positions, those would have all been interceptions without a doubt.
Yep.
So, yeah, Alex is making questionable throws, but I mean, I feel like that's just, to pull him. I don't know. Maybe something happened or whatever. But to pull him, I thought that was strange. But credit Spencer for being ready, right? I mean, he came in the game and you know made the throws that he had to make. Frankly, they weren't the prettiest throws. A lot of them were ducks. They kind of
That
came out.
wobbly duck like 20 yards downfield. Everybody's like, what had just happened? Like, that ball was nasty. I don't know how Nico came up and caught that.
But he came in, he was ready, and made the plays that he had to make. Made a lot of the throws they had to make, and then the offensive line was doing a great job in pass protection. Because obviously Spencer's not a mobile guy, right? They didn't really do a lot more. They didn't really do any rollouts too much. I think they ran like one with Spencer in the second half, but the offensive line did a great job knowing that they were gonna have to sit back and pass protect. And then obviously like we were able to run the football to again take the pressure off the quarterbacks as well. So I was definitely shocked to see Spencer in, but I was happy that he came in and obviously played well and was able to make the plays needed to help win the football game. So
Yeah, this is going to be, if Iowa makes the Big Ten championship game, this is going to be the number one topic of conversation. If Iowa doesn't make the Big Ten championship game, we are going to have a month of who is playing quarterback and a lot of speculation in regards to transfer portals and that kind of stuff. It's going to be a long month and a half of that being the centerpiece of conversation. We've talked about this. I think we both kind of agree with where we stand on the quarterback situation. Anyone who's listened to us talk knows what our, I think, preference is. I talked about the fact that, there's some risky throws, but Ricky Stanzi also threw about a million pick sixes, it felt like, and yet Iowa was winning football games. I will say this, kudos to Spencer to be able to come into that game and perform well. He made some really nice throws. He made some of the ugliest looking throws I think I've ever seen, but ultimately he got the job done. And two things I also want to point out. There's a couple times where Spencer had pressure on him and was about to get hit and was able to get the ball out. Alex Padilla's release is really quick. Spencer's a little bit more elongated, but in some games, we've seen Spencer, when he's getting ready to throw the ball, just take it and just get sacked. And he actually made the throws this week a couple of times, like, oh, he's going to get sacked. Oh, he's going to get, and then he actually threw. So that was impressive to see some of that development and growth. And just a shout out to our offensive line. We spent 3/4 this season talking about how atrocious this offensive line was and how bad it was. I've spent the better part of 2 years talking about how I have not been impressed with Jack Plum. And I don't like to call people out, but there have been a lot of inconsistent performances. This offensive line, for the most part, did a pretty good job. There were definitely some struggles. Connor Colby just got annihilated on a regular pass rush, but he's a true freshman. You're going to see that happen. But overall, this pass blocking unit has gotten a lot better, and that gives me a lot of hope going into the remaining part of the postseason, I guess, with the Big Ten championship game potentially, and then obviously a postseason game. Any thoughts on that before we move on for the rest of the show?
Yeah, they definitely done a much better job, really. I think these last 3 weeks, and they've definitely kind of settled on some guys who they feel gives them the best chance to win, and that's really what I've been talking about all year. Like, gotta find
just pick five.
Yeah, gotta find five, right? And now that they've been in, right, we've seen them obviously get better week after week, right? And it's only going to improve, right? Because they know that they're in, right? And they know that they don't have to worry about, if they mess up maybe one play, right, they're going to get pulled and then someone else is going to be in for them, right? So ton of credit has to go to the offensive line because they've been battling all year. And obviously got to credit the staff as well for finally sticking to some guys and getting them ready to play on Saturdays and Friday. So
yeah, man, truly amazing. I want to talk very briefly about the defense. We don't talk about defense a ton here because it's usually just really good and very consistent. And so, I mean, what else are you going to say there? couple shout outs. Riley Moss, without a PCL, has been performing lights out and has been a rock solid piece in the secondary. Jamari Harris is playing well and extended playing time with Matt Hankins out for the foreseeable future with what appears to be a hamstring issue. Just my thoughts there. I wanted to talk, though, about the rush defense. If Iowa makes the Big Ten championship game, it's either against Michigan or it's against Ohio State. Both those teams, very good at running the football. Now, a little bit more traditional than what Nebraska did. But what are your thoughts on Nebraska's option game? I thought the way they're running the football, I'm like, why aren't you guys doing this all year? Stop throwing the football. Just do that was tough for me. I had no idea where the ball was half the time. I was like, I honestly am impressed that we had one guy. And thank God our tackling was a little bit more fundamentally sound. We had a much better tackling performance. But man, their rushing attack was good under Logan Smothers. I really liked. Oh my gosh, the running back sweep where then he looked like he was, and then just optioned it at the last time. Like, okay, how are we supposed to stop this? It's ridiculous. So any thoughts on their rushing attack and what you saw from that and how Iowa eventually got better at stopping it?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting approach to the triple option and bringing it into modern football. Frankly, if they never had any mishaps with the exchanges that they were doing, they probably win that game. They probably win. But that's the part of the triple option, right? You got to make sure that the exchanges are crisp all the time, right? Everyone knows who has the ball. The quarterback knows who has it, right, to avoid those fumbles. But it's hard to do, right, because you really have to play assignment football, and thankfully Iowa does a really really good job of playing assignment football because again, you have to be responsible for your guy. You can't be caught like looking backfield trying to figure out who has it and who doesn't, right? You just know you have to do your job and focus on your part, right? And yeah, if I was Nebraska, I don't know why you would even bother passing the football. Right. If I don't have to, I'm just gonna run that all game. And then, when I get in a situation where I have to pass it, then we pass it. Right. I mean, it's not like, you're in the NFL where, the defenses are gonna be lights out every single week, right? And you have to keep those guys off balance. In college, you literally could probably run you could probably run the same play every single time and until they stop it, right? And you would have success with it. So if I'm Nebraska going forward, that's what I would do. That would be my focus, right? And obviously still continue to improve your pass game, right? You got to be able to throw the football a little bit, but yeah, I don't know why you wouldn't continue doing that. So
yeah, I mean, Logan Smothers 16 of 22. So when he did have to throw the football, it worked pretty well. It just felt like they ran the ball the entire game. But I mean, when you have athletes like that, uh, it makes it so much better. I mean, you think about like Army and Navy and a lot of those those academy schools, they run the triple option because it's a way of minimizing the risk and allowing on lesser athletes
yeah,
to be able to put points on the board because it relies on deception. But imagine deception with good athletes and quality tight ends and wide receivers who can run and a quarterback who can kind of throw. I mean, I don't know why you put that modern spin on that triple option, and I'm scared of Nebraska if that's what they do. I mean, that game plan was pretty good. It had Iowa in a bad spot until Nebraska started being Nebraska, making stupid mistakes, which kind of was the end of the game at that point. So completely agree there. Want to talk about Scott Frost real quick. I can't remember. We talked about it before the show. He said in his press conferences are great. He always finds a way to just screw up and say something inappropriate or wrong. He said, yeah, the game was over after that punt block. You're down. He's up 6 and the game is over at the punt block. If you're a player, like how compare Scott Frost to Kirk Ferentz. Kirk Ferentz, we win the game. He's in the middle of a press conference. He's trying not to cry because he loves his players so much. Meanwhile, Scott Frost is out there saying, yeah, we lost the game when we were up 6. I mean, can you just talk me through, like, as a player, what that means to you?
Yeah, I mean, it's great when you play for a guy that cares so much about the game, cares so much about the players, and that he's basically always going to have your back. And that after a game, right? He's never gonna. First off, he's never throwing anybody under the bus, right? At the end of the day, right? He'll say, something apart. along the lines of either like that's football or it's on us, right? We have to coach better and all these different things, right? And it makes it easy to go out and play for a guy like that. And when you see that raw emotion, on Saturdays after big wins, it's really like, so this is like why we put in all this work, right? Because obviously, like, he cares and he cares so much, and it just kind of permeates through the rest of the program. And then when you contrast that with, Scott Frost, and he's basically saying like, yeah, like we had already lost, when that punt was blocked, right? He's basically saying we might as well just took all of our stuff and went in the locker room and call it a game at that point, right? I mean, like when you hear that, like as a player, you're like, well, then did you not believe in us? Is that the reason why we end up losing the game? Because you said you thought it was over, so you just stopped putting us in position to be successful. It's like, um, I don't know. I mean, I feel like when your coach is saying things like that, and I get it, right? He was on those Nebraska teams where they were obviously really, really good, and they never really had to go through anything like how
Adversity.
they've been, yeah, who they are now. And obviously he won a lot when he was at UCF. Um, but I feel like when you hear that as a player and you guys know that you're struggling, like you obviously know that's struggling, right? You want someone who's there, who's going to have your back and try to pick you guys up instead of, you know, saying all different types of things like, uh, I don't know. Obviously, he says a lot of nonsense in his press conferences,
Almost every press conference, he
but
manages to say something dumb.
yeah, like you hear things like that where he's basically already gave up on the game. Like you're just like dude, like why would I want to continue to play? Like I know if it was me, I'd be like, why would I want to continue to play for a guy like that? Um, who quite frankly, gives up on his players, at the beginning of the fourth quarter. So
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I mean, and literally you saw the team just I mean, it was a completely different Nebraska football team after that 5-minute mark. Yes,
mhm,
credit to Iowa for never quitting and playing their hearts out, but Nebraska that I mean, as much as I hate Nebraska lost that a lot of that game. I mean, Nebraska lost that game.
mhm,
They had the game in their hands 21-6. They
yep,
should have won that game.
mhm,
And you have a couple botched handoffs. All of a sudden, the pass protection looks like they're a JV squad. I mean, our
yep,
pass rush hasn't been that good this season, and all of a sudden, we are just blowing up Logan Smothers, who has 4.5 speed, and all of a sudden can't get out of the pot. I mean, like
mhm,
I don't know.
mhm,
It's just absolutely ridiculous. Nevertheless, though, I'm glad we don't have Scott Frost and we have Kirk Ferentz. When he starts almost crying, and you see those in the locker room, and I'm sure you've experienced this. I obviously haven't, but those in locker room clips where you start goading him on to start crying, it just it makes you just love him so much more as a coach, and it makes you really appreciate having a coach like that at the helm of the Iowa Hawkeye football program. Iowa does win 28-21, 10-win season. Something that is not a very common thing. I think people are looking at this and be like, well, we didn't beat that many good teams. Who the hell cares? We got
mhm.
10 wins. This is a big time feat. A lot of teams don't get to do this. It's a big time season for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Any last thoughts before we close out the show, though, LeShun?
Yeah. Winning 10 games is really hard, right? I only did it one time in my career. We obviously had opportunities practically every single year. Um, but it just frankly just didn't come out that way, right? It's very, very hard to win football games in the Big Ten, let alone in college football, right? So like um it's impressive feat. It's a great year. Like I know that if you told 99% of Hawkeye fans, like before the year started, you're like, you guys are gonna finish 10-2. You'd probably have been like, all right, yeah, cool. Like
Yeah.
that sounds pretty good. Like,
Yeah.
like that sounds pretty good. And it's really impressive to the team that they uh were able to fight through some adversity, right? All the way from being, you know, number 2 in the country to losing to Purdue to battling back and finishing the season strong. Um, it's really just credit to the players and the staff, not giving up and continuing to fight, even though that, uh, you probably had a different outlook, halfway through the year versus, the second half, but that's all right. So yeah, that's really pretty much all I got to say. Uh, excited for these guys, moving forward. They're going to be in a good bowl game. To make it to the Big Ten championship, it'd be even better. So, but definitely excited for definitely what the future brings and what we can see, from this Iowa squad, because there's group of guys that don't quit and that keep going. And the last thing I got to say is go Hawks, and let's roll that boat today.
Oh man, you said it. Now I had to you had to die a little inside when you said that, but
yeah.
row that boat, PJ. We need you to get that W. We also need Penn State to knock off Michigan State. And honestly, you're gonna hate me for saying this, but I would prefer to play Michigan. So go Michigan. I'm sorry, man. I know that hurts deep inside. You're probably like, why did I even join this show? But anyways, Hawkeye Nation, we as always appreciate you tuning in after every single game for a post-game recap. LeShun, has been a pleasure. I'm looking forward to at least one more episode, possibly two, if Iowa goes to Big Ten championship games. So it should be a lot of fun. Hawkeye Nation, appreciate you tuning in. If you want help with how to bet on any games today at BetOnline.ag, check out the Locked On Bets podcast hosted by your boy Q and handicapping expert Lee Serling of Paramount Sports. That will do it for our show today. We'll be back Monday through Friday this upcoming week, breaking down everything that is happening. If we get a Big Ten championship game, we'll be breaking that down. If we don't, we'll be talking a lot of basketball and superlatives with what is going on with the football team. So Hawkeye Nation, appreciate you tuning in. Have a fantastic Saturday and even better weekend. And as always, let's go Hawks.